Welcome to BusinessWise. I'm your host, Arte Maren. This is a show that provides you with tools, effective management tools with which to build your business, your practice, or indeed your life. Today's show is all about the internet. Websites on the internet, building your business on the internet, and in fact, building your business. Our experts, Grant and Siouxsie Boshoff, have a lot to say about the subject. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Very happy to introduce our experts and our guests on today's show, Grant and Siouxsie Boshoff, who've been working within the website industry for many, many years and recently have experienced terrific growth. We're going to hear about the reasons for those, that kind of growth and what they've done to help grow their business and, in fact, grow the business of others. First, let's welcome Grant and Siouxsie Boshoff.
Thank you, Artie.
Hi, Artie.
So, Grant, I want to start with you. I understand that you began computer work or programming at a very early age. What was that?
Well, I was born and raised on computers. My dad owned a computer bureau, as they called them back in the 70s, as I was growing up. So I had my first computer from the age of about 8 or 9 years old. So I started programming naturally. By the age of 10 or 11, wrote my first program when I was about 12.
Wow. I mean, some of us have never even written a program. What did you feel at the time when you were younger that you would definitely get into the profession of programming in any way?
I did, yes. In fact, growing up as a teenager, that was my intention. And then, unfortunately, a little thing called life got in the way and
went off on a different road? Or?
Yeah, went off, chasing a dollar, trying to make money, and kind of lost that original purpose.
Interesting. I want to come back to that, too, because you raise an interesting point. Here you were with this drive, this passion, or this love of programming and computers, and rather than maybe even going on that route, you then went after, quote, after the money. I think it's more than ironic that when you went back to the passion, when you went back into the area that you loved, that started bringing the money.
Yeah, it's true. And L. Ron Hubbard actually talks about that in a number of articles and essays that he's written. And one of those that we applied when we started our company early on, in fact, Siouxsie was the one that got me to really take a look at it, is a scale that he mentions called the administrative scale. Which is a way that an individual can lay out their goals and purposes and actually formulate an exact plan of action to achieve those.
So what you're saying is that what Hubbard has done is he's taken the top of the scale, in other words, putting the goals and purposes first. I think that all too many people in business or even in life are working or doing stuff towards so that eventually they can do their goals and purposes.
Yeah.
And what you guys have done, or at least initially with you, is that you've converted over to, you know what, this is my goal and purpose. I'm going to use what Hubbard's developed to actually nail down what I need to do to get to those goals and purposes rather than going off into this circuitous route.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Yeah. Siouxsie, what about you?
Well, when we started this, I remember Grant was telling me that he was done doing sales and other activities and he wanted to do something with the internet. something with programming, and he started building websites.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been an artist most of my life. And while he's a great programmer and has the technical skills, he needed a little bit of the soft touch, and so I got involved, and he taught me about computers. And
I see. When you say a little bit of the soft touch, you mean you watched his graphic work?
yeah, it was, yeah.
Needed a little help.
It needed a lot of help.
I see. A little artistic touch.
Yeah,
I see.
exactly.
Well, let me ask you the same question. When you began, when you were doing your art at an early age, did you also foresee that you'd be involved in art as a profession?
I think I always wanted to, but, you know, how can you make money at it, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I went through life and just, you know, did other things.
Right. I think that's an important point, and it's an important point for our viewers, that goals and purposes can be achieved, and the only reason they're not is that the tools or effective tools with which to achieve them are not in place. So one chases after other areas and then years later says, you know, what am I doing? I'm not achieving my goals. This is not fun. I think it's very important to know, too, that Hubbard doesn't distinguish between work and play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see. It's a tough life when you've made that separation between work and play. When you say, all right, this is work, and then that's play.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, as he points out in one of the tapes I recently heard, that some people work so hard at play they need a vacation. You know, after the vacation, you know, bring the boats, get the stuff. You know, that sounds like a lot of work. You know, but ideally, when the whole thing is fun. Okay, when every aspect of it, when there's no distinction between work and play, I think that's when you're on your way. And I would gather that that's what's happening now with your company.
Totally. Not only with us, but even now we have employees and we've grown. And the one thing that we always push is the spirit of play. It can't get serious.
Mm-hmm.
And the one piece of feedback that we get from all of our staff, one for one, is that it's the best place they've ever worked. It's the funnest environment.
Right.
Very laid back.
Good. I think that's an important point you bring up, too, in terms of the spirit of play, that it's important to keep in mind that it's a game, you know, no matter how you look at it, and no matter what a person's profession is, they're involved in a game. The game has certain rules and certain freedoms and some barriers, as Hubbard puts it, and as long as that's kept in mind, you know, you have a chance of winning as opposed to getting all hung up about it and all serious about it. But, of course, it helps to have the right tools. Now, speaking of the right tools, I know that our research department indicated that you guys are quote, self-taught. Mm-hmm. Now, in pursuing that a little further, I wanted to get what you mean. You've done high school graduate work, but no college, no MBA, no PhD, no Harvard, no nothing, yet the company is growing and growing and growing, making money, servicing clients, and in, you know, in essence, living the American dream. How do you account for that?
That's simple. It's basically the not having a college background. In fact, not even officially finishing high school, just getting a GED.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we had was this technology. We were lucky enough to be familiar with it and have it available to us.
When you say this technology, you're referring to Hubbard management
the Hubbard
tools?
management system,
okay.
Yeah. We were familiar with it. Obviously we weren't experts in it, but we came from a background of where I'd done sales my whole life. That's all I'd done, and I was quite frankly burnt out. Mm-hmm. I had an ulcer, and I was done after 10 years of punching the phone. So Siouxsie sat me down and basically took out that admin scale and said, okay, what do you really want to do? And my answer was, well, I want to do something with the internet. Luckily, once you've figured that out, the rest of the scale actually helps you plan and lay out an exact plan, and it gives you additional tools to actually move forward with that. Because I think a lot of people like the concept of, well, I'd like to do what I've always wanted to do, but they can't figure out how to make a living at it because they're missing those tools. So in a nutshell, I would say the answer is, for us, was this technology. There really is no other answer for us.
Well, we had heard in a prior interview that we did with you that this administrative scale was a key towards the beginning and indeed the expansion of the company. As a result, I've prevailed to bring the booklet with which covers the administrative scale in great detail. This is called Targets and Goals. And we're going to make this booklet, thanks to you, we're going to make this available to anybody who calls into the show as a complimentary booklet, which goes into exactly what you hear from Grant, from the both of you, Grant and Siouxsie, and indeed presents the administrative scale in itself from goals at the very top down to what products are produced, covering statistics and planning and all that. So we're going to make this available, and I'm glad you brought it up. This is now what, the 5th anniversary of the company?
Yeah.
What were, Siouxsie, what were the phases that the company went through in terms of how it started and then moved up to its current expansion?
Well, when we started, we actually lived in Colorado, and we started in our basement, which had picture windows overlooking the mountains. But it was just the two of us. And then as we grew, where we were, there was no high-speed internet access. And
when you say picture windows, you mean actual windows looking at the mountains?
Yeah.
Okay. I grew up in New York. We had pictures of windows that
yeah,
you know.
no, real
Okay.
mountain views. It was
Right.
beautiful. But there was no high-speed internet access coming for about 2 years where we were. So we decided we needed to relocate, and we ended up coming to Florida, and we came to Clearwater. And once we got started there, we realized very quickly that we needed to start hiring staff. We needed to find a location and start operating from another place. And it was really interesting because once we started hiring employees, we really had to figure out a way to get them in line with what we were doing and where the company was going. So that administrative scale from the beginning to the end, we laid out exact programs, went over it with each of our staff. And
so in other words, when you started, just Grant and yourself, you're out there, it's mom and pop, it's kind of what Hubbard calls hey you, hey you, do this.
yeah.
Suddenly you come to Clearwater, and now there's like 2-3 employees, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, this is a business. Whoa, what?
And then, of course, as a business owner, you always worry that people can do what you can do, and they're going to take care of your customers as well as you do, and that kind of thing.
Right.
So what we put in what's called the Model of Administrative Know-How program. That was probably the most important point in our business, because in there there's 5 basic programs that we went through, and which was like company training, being able to measure their production and predict their production, as well as our own and the company's growth, organizing the business so that everybody knew what they're supposed to do,
Right.
And company solvency. We put in a very good financial planning system that's exactly laid out. That was fabulous and allowed us to buy our own building. We have like 15 staff now.
Great.
And we're growing.
Well, I think our viewers are going to be interested in several factors, one of which is, of course, growing their business, utilizing these tools and the administrative scale, which Hubbard refers to as the administrative scale of importance as well, meaning there's lots of tools of management. And the service that I think he's done with his research is cut through all the noise and the clutter and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, these points are what you need to know about management. Okay, these 10 areas, if you focus, in fact, he said the ability to use these tools is called management, you see. So I think our viewers are going to be very happy to receive the booklet, and I think they'll find it of tremendous value. The other factor is the companies that are watching now also want to know, do I need a presence on the internet? Do I need a website? Now I realize I'm asking very unbiased people here, but from an overview, given that you're in the industry, and let me start with you, Grant. What do they need to be? Do they need to have a website, and how important is that? I've heard stories about how there's a fallacy, which is build a website and they will come. I know that it's not just you now have a website. You've got to drive them to it. So what's your take on that?
Well, as far as do they need a website, absolutely, no question. There's a number of, there's a lot of factors. I could spend hours going over just these points. But to summarize, there's, number one, you got to have a website. Let's face the facts, it's 2005. It's expected for business. In fact, not having a website often works against the business owner. can...
Just from a PR factor, where's your website? Oh, well, we don't really have one.
Exactly.
I see. You have a telephone?
Right.
A fax machine?
Yeah.
I get it.
It's like handing someone a business card without a phone number 20 years ago.
So there's a cultural factor, and of course there's the promotional factor, which we're going to get to in a moment. I want to make sure that our audience understands that we're talking about a technology that is used worldwide. Companies, Fortune 500 companies, major corporations, as well as the small business, have found that the tools of management developed by L. Ron Hubbard have been very effective for them in producing results.
Joe. Stevens. There. Okay. I'll take him right there. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right.
I believe in nature.
I believe in the spirit.
I believe in trust. Beauty.
I believe in my mom. Strawberry ice cream.
Fortune cookies.
Chocolate.
I believe in
The tooth fairy.
being honest with yourself.
I believe in Santa Claus.
Aliens, of course. I believe what I want to believe.
I believe in myself.
I believe in myself. I believe in peace.
Welcome back to BusinessWise and our guests, Grant and Siouxie Boshoff. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about marketing in the internet and growing your business. Siouxie, from the promotional side of things, what's been the philosophy or the viewpoint of the company in terms of what people need to do for the promotion of their website?
Well, having a website is just part of promoting, but it doesn't replace traditional promotional actions that any organization should do. There's a number of different components that come into place, obviously, but one of them that we definitely push with our clients and encourage them to do, which has been a very big part of their success, is a specific datum that Mr. Hubbard outlined called gross income senior datum, and it's basically on how do you increase the gross income of an organization.
And how do you do that?
Well, you do that by massively promoting, through bulk mailing, whether it's postcard mailings, newsletters, things like that. So we help them with those types of activities to develop a plan so that they can actually promote their website, as well as obviously search engine marketing and the traditional internet marketing things that we do as well. But also very important to it is when you have a website, you have to decide what the purpose is in the beginning. And then once you've decided what it's supposed to do, then you actually create the website so that it achieves that purpose, that goal.
So in other words, the website could be very narrow in terms of, let's say a company had 9 products. They have a choice then, which is, do we want to display all the products and say, hey, here's who we are, we're Acme Product Company, we've got this display of products, click on the one you want, etc. Or we're Acme Company, we have products, our lead product is this, click on this and we'll show you the rest. In other words, it can be done in stages or it can be the whole thing.
Yeah, we try to get them to focus on one particular thing that they want to achieve, whether it's generating a lead, whether it's generating a sale. but the website is usually designed to create that exact, valuable final product when everything's said and done.
So our viewers who have companies need to make sure that when they're having a website built, they have to take a real good look at what that front page is all about. Is it going to be 15 different links and so on? And I think probably from the Hubbard management viewpoint, the simpler the better. Meaning, you want to reach that person and you want to keep them involved in your website to the greatest degree. From a statistical viewpoint, I'm infatuated with the idea that there are systems now through servers and others that can tell us who clicked on, where they clicked on, how long they were on each page, and where they dropped off. So if I've got 9 pages, or I'm trying to get what is click-through, and somebody's dropping off at 5, or not somebody, but out of 1,000 people who came on the website, a majority click off at 5 page, I got to take a look at my 5th page because something's up. Is
Absolutely.
that right? What would you do in that case?
Well, funnily enough, developing a website, actually, it comes full circle back to the admin scale again, because that admin scale is actually such a powerful tool that it can be used to design a business. It can also be used to design one area, such as a website. You lay out the goal of the web, and this is what we do with our clients when we do a consultation to begin putting together a website, meaning a marketing tool, not just a pretty-looking site. We look at the goal of it. We interview them, find out, well, what is the end result? What do we need to achieve? And then we step it all the way through. If you look through that admin scale, you see statistics are included in there, meaning the tracking of it, exactly what you were just referring to. The valuable final product, meaning what does it need to achieve? Is it a sale? Is it a lead generated? Is it purely PR? So you can apply that scale to anything, and it works like a charm.
Well, see, you brought up a good point in that the website, while it may have PR ramifications, it has a job to do. Right. And that job is either drive the leads in or make the sales. And I bring this up because there's an awful lot of very pretty websites.
Oh, yeah.
With bells and whistles, and boy, it does a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't drive any business in, you see. Again, I'm going to reiterate that the Target and Goals booklet is going to be available to our viewers. Anybody who wants a copy, it's complimentary. And in it, you will find the scale. And if I may just briefly mention, this scale moves from goals at the very top through purposes, policy, in terms of what the guiding principles of that project or company are, the plans then which implement those principles, which are then accomplished through programs, projects, and orders, and the ideal scene, meaning the envisioning what it would look like if it was operating optimally, backed up by statistics, which then prove that it's moving towards ideal, and of course achieved through the obtaining of the products you want, whether that's a lead or a PR or a sale or anything else. So it's an extremely valuable tool, and I know utilized around the world in all sorts of businesses and operations, and I might add in personal lives.
Absolutely.
You know, did you find as you were building the company that this tool also assisted your relationship? And not to how many children do you have?
4.
4 children.
Yeah.
So I imagine there's a bit of admin scale there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How does that work?
We use it across the boards. I mean, everything from our business to our family, and the kids know exactly what the purposes are of our activity, and it's each person doing well in the group, and we adopt policy because that becomes agreement. And
so in other words, if there's something in the household that's let's say not working, you establish a guideline for that.
Well, ideally you establish it ahead of time so that there's agreement in place.
Okay. Well, again, maybe that's the key word. You know, there's a lot of people out there who obviously have children and they make rules. But you said a very important word. You said agreement. See, it's one thing to say to the children, well, this is the way this is done now, and that's it. See, that's a you know, that's the datum, and that's the way it is. But what I'm gathering from you is that you use this tool to gain agreement. Saying, well, this is the way it is, now let's talk about that. And they have to, what, come to an understanding that that is the rule and why that rule is in place?
Yeah, Hubbard is very clear about policy being agreement. He makes no bones about that. If policy is not known throughout an organization, a family unit, whatever, and agreed upon, it's not going to work. If it's not agreed upon, people will change it or create their own their own ways of doing things at their level. I mean, could you imagine if you had a factory floor where people were bolting carburetors together and one guy decided that they should be bolted the other way around? Those cars are not going to run.
Right. So you get chaos, which,
Totally.
well, I think it's a very good laboratory, if you will, for children. What are the ages?
Our oldest is 15. No, just turned 16 yesterday. And then we have 14, 12, and 8.
Okay, so 16, 14, 12, and 8. Try doing that. Don't try this at home, folks. Try doing that without rules. So it's obviously been very effective for you. I want to thank you both for coming on the show. We appreciate it. I think you've given us quite a bit of information. I want to, again, reiterate that the booklet is available for those who wish to have a copy. Simply call the number that will be shown shortly. And I want to thank you again for joining us in another show for BusinessWise.
I believe in nature.
I believe in the spirit.
I believe in trust, beauty.
I believe in my mom. Strawberry ice cream.
Fortune cookies?
Chocolate.
I believe in
The tooth fairy.
being honest with yourself.
I believe in Santa Claus.
Aliens, of course. I believe what I want to believe.
I believe in myself.
I believe in myself. I believe in peace.
Everyone has the right to life, liberty,
and security of person.
everyone has the right to freedom of opinion.
And expression. This right includes the freedom to hold opinions without interference.
No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his
Privacy, family, home, or correspondence.
nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation.
Everyone has the right to freedom of thought,
conscience, and religion.
This right includes the freedom to change his religion or belief.
All human beings are born free and equal
In dignity and rights.
They are endowed with reason and conscience
And should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood.
You can make a difference. Urge the world's governments to fully implement the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.